Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Yeah, I thought tonight we were willing to just get off the ball like when there was a crowd. We got some really good looks down the stretch. We didn't make them all. Kind of multiple drive them a few times when they had them in scramble mode. Got the dunks with Jaden. And then corner three with Ant. That also opened up the glass. I think just Mike makes all the difference there for sure. Getting off of it, getting us organized, and then ball. I mean, I thought, Anthony had some really good looks too. It was good to get him some good looks rather than him having to carry the load all the time.
I don't want to put all of it on just one transaction, but it's kind of amazing. It took a couple games, and there's been some bumps, and this team is not perfect. But after the D'Lo for Conley trade, and Kyle Anderson's been a huge part of this, isn't it crazy that this team has gone from I think if you were to ask the NBA media and NBA teams and players, what's one word to describe the Timberwolves like a month ago or a year ago? Soft would have been pretty large in the word bubble exercise. SAWFT, soft. When did this team, and I know the answer, it's like in the last couple weeks, Conley's a big part of it, become this hardened, mentally tough, defensive grinding, go on the road, shut down your best players at the end of games, team that nobody probably wants to face in a 7-game series right now. Isn't it kind of crazy?
The word that I would use is mature, because I think 2 months ago, they were an immature basketball team. And keep in mind, our conversations then were about what? We're about, can Ant lead? And Ant is trying to lead, but are people paying attention? And D'Lo is doing this and that. And Gobert at that time was not really, even with Cat out, fitting in. Think about it now. It's a mature team. And I will give you what I think is quietly one of the most important things. Think about 2 months ago and now, and how Gobert now fits in. And Gobert is not a sexy player. He doesn't do things where you're like, oh my God, what did he just do? But look at the last 2 games, 2 really difficult road wins. Look at the rebounds. Look at his production. Everybody is doing their damn job now. And I do think that, Phil, to go back to what we have discussed, I know he didn't play last night, but Karl Anthony Towns also, because of how it's structured, is fitting into his role. It is now a mature team. And that's the thing that I think we all sort of called D'Lo out for, it was just very clear he was not a mature player. I guess personally, I didn't realize what a guy like Conley was going to do just from a mentality standpoint of how everyone approaches their job.
Listen to old Macadac a little more closely. Tried to tell all of you guys, just because he's not a better player right now than D'Lo. D'Lo's a more skilled scorer and player.
Yeah.
Just it's funny because Kyle Teige and I on Flagrant Howls, it was kind of tongue-in-cheek joking and poking at the Wolves for trading all their leaders in the Gobert deal. And all right, what are the leadership power rankings, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
And we're I guess Austin Rivers is number 1. And maybe Gobert, Cat's not ever been a team leader type personality. And now if you were to do leadership power rankings right now, I think Mike Conley and Kyle Anderson would be tied for the top any given night, any given situation. Taurean Prince has emerged as a mature adult leader, right? Anthony Edwards has probably risen up that list. Naz Reid has probably risen up that list. Jordan McLaughlin even as a backup point guard. And Jaden McDaniels, I said this to you guys with Royce today too. He's not he's never going to be, I don't think, a vocal leader. He's got that Kawhi Leonard sort of DNA, just a silent sort of assassin. But that guy, just with what he does on the floor, just shadowing your best player at the end of a game, making sure that Steph Curry doesn't touch the inbounds pass. Leadership by example. So it is crazy. 2 weeks ago, you're looking at the schedule saying, okay, you just lost, what was it? They lost 3 or 4 games in a row to go 2 games under 500. They're trying to get Cat back healthy. Anthony Edwards went down. They lost, back-to-back to the Bulls and the Raptors. And that Knicks game, man, I don't know what the conversations were beforehand, and I don't know, but everything just seems to have kind of clicked with the glue guys and the stars. Everyone understands their role. Mike Conley has given some speeches behind the scenes about how this far into the season, it doesn't, like, individual stats aren't going to move the needle. We are 75 games into the season. You putting up an extra 10 points over here or whatever, like, getting yours doesn't matter anymore. Your averages are what they are. Pour everything into the team. And it feels like that's what they've done these last 4 games.
They're not selfish. Yeah. And he's exactly right. And plus, I also think, and we discussed this as well. So a while back when a guy like Austin Rivers talks about, I'm expected to lead here and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, dude, here's the problem. You don't play enough to lead, really. Like, you have to play some because, being a leader of a team, I think occasionally involves a speech or being vocal, but more importantly, I think it's how you approach your job and having the respect of your teammates. And if you don't play, you might be liked, but it's really hard to lead. Mike Conley plays and slow-mo, God bless him. Great nickname, by the way. Kyle Anderson plays. And what they can do by playing is they can back it up. And I think that's incredibly important. But, this is really the last 2 games, and going back to, as you said, the Knicks game, if you watch these games, everyone is doing their job. And at times it switches out.
Yeah.
And other people pick up the slack. And like, how many Wolves teams, in recent vintage have we seen that with? It's always been either selfish or one guy tries to do it. As much as he claimed to lead Jimmy Butler, right? It's like, just give me the damn ball. And he was good enough. But the reality is that a winning formula for like a playoff series with this franchise? The answer is probably no. Right now, I think you're right. I don't know I want to play them.
The other thing I know we're kind of focusing on Conley here. There's a bunch of guys that deserve the spotlight from last night. Conley was one of them. He scored 16 points on 8 shots. Had some great defensive possessions. Was just an organizer. But the other thing that he brings that D'Lo just did not have is the credibility of having played in about 45, or I don't have the number in front of me, like 45 or 50 playoff games. D'Lo's history in the playoffs is that one series with Brooklyn where they got bounced in like 5 games. And then last year, the play-in, and then they get bounced again. Like, D'Lo hasn't fought the wars of postseason battle in the Western Conference. Mike Conley has. Now, Mike Conley doesn't have a ring, but when he comes in here and you're going up against, it's down the stretch. And by the way, credit to D'Lo, because he single-handedly, I think, carried you in the second half of that Clippers play-in game last year. But at the end of the day, when you got a bunch of must-win games on your schedule and they're at Golden State, at the Kings, who are the 3rd best team in the West, the Suns here this week, it's kind of nice to have a guy that has fought those fights in a ring in May. I don't know if he's ever played in early June or not, but he's played a ton of postseason basketball games in his career.
73 postseason games for Mike Conley in his career.
There you go, dude.
And he played a ton of them, came in the early years in Memphis when he was a lot younger. But even, this turnaround that's last like 2 weeks, and, I know Conley talked about individual statistics don't matter and whatnot, and that I believe him there. That's true. But, Conley over the last 8 games has been incredibly effective, like individually. He's shooting over 50% from the floor. He has a 48% shot from 3. He's playing productive minutes, 31 minutes a night, not getting into foul trouble, leading this offense. Like, you can tell that there is a humongous difference. Is he going to be the ice cold, ice in my veins type of guy like D'Lo is, where it's volatile and one night he can carry it to a win like he did in the play-in game against the Clippers, and other nights he's shipwrecking you and trying to get his shots? No. Mike Conley's been around enough, and he's been around enough playoff rosters that it just clicks.
And this is a sneaky one. And if you would have asked me when they acquired him, how many playoff games has Kyle Anderson played in, I would have said, I remember him. I remember him in the series against, like, last year, obviously, but I don't know. I would have said a couple of years. I really don't know. 47. He's played for, another guy that, and they were teammates well, maybe they might have missed each other actually in Memphis, him and Conley. But, with the San Antonio Spurs, Kyle Anderson played in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago against the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, they've got dudes on their team who don't get thrown off or flustered or feel like they're sort of playing in over their heads in some of these games. They're like, we play in May, we play in June. That's our careers.
The most important thing too is this. With previous Wolves teams, when the playoffs have approached, you said if Cat melts down, they're pretty much screwed. They're in huge trouble. With this team, the way that they're playing now, they're not. So if Cat melts down, if Cat pouts, if Cat, I don't know, picks up a foul that he thinks was not a foul and decides to take a quarter off, you're not dead now. And it's not because, oh my God, can D'Angelo, who obviously didn't in the Memphis series, save the day? It's because you have an infrastructure that now allows other people to actually step up. I think the single most important thing from the team that existed before the deadline, in addition to slow-mo, is Naz. Because Naz Reid now, look at how he is playing. Like we thought when they got Gobert that Naz was just out. Like Naz might play some, he might get traded, I don't know, but that he was not going to play a primary role, and he didn't. If you look at the first part of the season as they tried to get Cat and Gobert playing together, Naz sat out like 6 games.
Yep.
Now look at what he can do and his versatility. And he's not Cat, but he certainly can do a lot of things probably as a poor man's Cat. But more importantly, I love how he's wired. I love how he is wired. You know,
just like get you a bucket when you need a bucket. You know,
exactly.
It's kind of crazy.
And is there ever any like pouting or panic there? Like that's what I love too. Like he strikes me as having a playoff mentality.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson, right? Mike Conley. Like that's the most important thing I think in professional playoffs. It's not just who's good, that helps, but it's also who's wired to handle the pressure, because I think the people that are really help the guys around them who might not be, to keep them calm.
You know, and I would ask this too for anyone that, because there's a lot of people chirping after 3 games or whatever, and I think Conley had the one scoreless game, 33 minutes, he went scoreless, and he even said, God, my life's been kind of a whirlwind, but let me get settled here and you'll see the real Mike Conley, right?
Yep.
And there was a lot of people saying, just another terrible trade. Fire Tim Conley, right? He's just, well, I would ask those same people, after these last 4 games, would you swap Mike Conley back away from the Timberwolves and bring in D'Angelo Russell to finish out the stretch? And I mean, I'm sure there's some people, some D'Lo fans out there that would, but really, would you want that? Another thing too, that I think it's a big deal, is Mike Conley doesn't need to shoot. And I may have said this on yesterday's show. He doesn't, like, his game doesn't require him to, I need to get a feel for 15 shots before I can feel like I'm, in the game here. He's out there. Him and Kyle Anderson are so great for this team when we talk about glue guys, because their entire job, and they have embraced this, is getting other people going, right? It's finding someone else for an open shot. It's getting a rebound to keep a possession alive in the case of Kyle Anderson.
Yep.
They're not necessarily out there needing to get their own 20 points. Sometimes it happens organically if the ball comes back around to those guys, or the shot clock's winding down and Kyle Anderson has to put up his patented sky hook that he's been unleashing. So they've needed glue guys like this, and they have them. And so that game against the Suns on the road this week could be a tough one, but their schedule actually kind of lightens up after that too. And they're right now, they have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. So as we sit here recording this today on Tuesday on Mackey and Judd, the Wolves are the 6th seed in the Western Conference, and they would play a 7-game series against the Kings, who they've beaten 3 out of 4 meetings this year, the only loss in overtime.
How about Wednesday night in town here on TV? Wolves at Phoenix. I believe that starts at 9 p.m. Central. Wild at Avalanche.
Yeah.
Starts at 9 p.m. Central.
A battle for the top of the division there,
too. Get the
too.
clickers going, baby. Get the 2 TVs
well, we're
going.
getting the flag after those games.
Flags going. Hold on a second. I gotta find where's my flag?
Wolves flag.
I got the Wolves flag. Bill, get your Wolves flag up. Get your Wolves towel. There it is.
Let's go.
9 o'clock, baby. Get the beer cold. Get the clicker ready.
And later this week, Twins baseball, gentlemen. Twins.com/tickets. Opening day at Target Field specifically is April 6th at 3:10 p.m. as the Twins face the World Series champion Houston Astros. Gates open, by the way, 2 hours before first pitch at 1:10. I know that we're more excited almost just to see the new rules, right? Oh, you're saying left-handed hitters could maybe get a base hit now because the shift is banned in the infield? So buy your tickets at twins.com/tickets. First chance to see the new uniforms, the new revamped rotation, twins.com/tickets. Also a shout out to our friends at EcoFun Motorsports. All right. So a few things here. The preseason sale on all electric bikes and scooters featuring the Beach Star step-through electric bike. MSRP just, let's see here. Oh, wow. MSRP $2,099 on sale for $1,599. Lowest price ever. And a C-Star 500W trail electric bike. MSRP $2,299 on sale for $1,799. Judd's got his Twins hat on, too. Put your EcoFun hat on, Judd. EcoFun Motorsports.
Give me an Eco-Fun hat.
EcoFun Motorsports.
I will not buzz off.
That
Don't
hat
go
fits you.
pop to buzz off.
Hat fits you pretty well there, Zolgad. That hat fits you pretty well.
How about that?
This guy.
Look at this guy. Baseball.
We like to rank things on this show. And speaking of new rules for baseball, Judd has a pecking order here. Is it your favorite rule changes in sports history, or what? How far back are we going here?
I'm going way back, but it's 10 rule changes in honor, like you said, of what baseball is doing, which is significant. It's 10 significant rule changes that I think have, for the most part, benefited the sport. Okay,
in Judd's lifetime, which means cutting the bottom of the peach basket out for basketball.
Exactly. I'm going back before I was born. I'm starting at 10 there and going up to the most
forward pass.
Yep. Actually, just wait. Okay, number 10. Number 10. The National Hockey League in 1956-57 allowing players serving minor penalties out of the box after a goal. You used to have to stay in the box to serve the entire thing, and the Montreal Canadiens would score like 3 goals on a power play.
Minor penalties. So
on a minor penalty. A 5-minute
majors. This is how the Gophers flattened Canisius. It was a very close game, and then doofus guy for Canisius decides to get squirrely.
But in the mid-50s, the Canadians would just score a ton of goals back in the old 6-team National Hockey League on a minor penalty, and so they changed that rule. That's number 10. Number 9, 1974, the goalpost of the National Football League being moved from the front of the end zone to the back. So if you go back and watch old games on YouTube, you will see the old goalpost, which had 2 stanchions, basically, were at the front, and like guys would run into them.
What year was that change made?
1974. It was changed back to where they put the goalposts at the back of the end zone like it is today. So like 1973, the goalpost, like if you go back and watch a Bears game at Wrigley Field where they used to play, guys would run into the goalposts.
I just want to see the kicking stats and how aggressive. So 1974 was the first year.
Kicking stats were always bad back then.
And they probably just didn't. I guess the stats wouldn't be that different. They would just like not attempt the longer field goals, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And at that time, like, it's a 40-yard attempt. This is going to take a lot of leg.
And the kicker has to set his cigarette down and line up straight on with his black high-top cleats.
Smoked.
Just had a heater. Just wait.
Len
just
Dawson.
Holding. Yeah,
just set it down. Yeah.
All right, number 7. Phil joked about it. It's no joke. 1933 is when the NFL said the forward pass, it can actually come from a guy. Get this. It used to be you had to drop back 5 yards to throw a forward pass, or it was a penalty. So in 1933, they said, this is really aggressively stupid. We're going to allow the forward pass without you going back 5 yards to throw the ball forward. Pretty damn important rule change.
I mean, think about how boring football was before you could pass the ball. Like,
well, and yeah, exactly. Number
I bet you there was a bunch of old school football fans at the time. The guys who like started watching club football in the 1800s. They were really bent out of shape over that major rule change, right? You're going to ruin the game.
Yeah. This game's never going to make it. It's a minor league sport already.
No, we're not, Clancy. It's going to make the game more explosive and fun.
Number 6, and this is because it's been controversial. It's had a huge impact, some good, some bad. I think for the most part, it's probably considered good. Replay review in sports, which is really like now it seems like it's been around for a long time. It really hasn't in the big picture of sports, but football, basketball now. In basketball, I think it's used too much at times, especially in college basketball. It's abused. But replay review in sports, which now impacts all sports.
Yeah. The only major league to not adopt it yet is the WWE. At some point, maybe we can get the WWE in. Although I do agree with Michael Grady on the Bally's broadcast the other night. It's like, we could speed this up. We don't need umpires walking over and putting a headset on. We don't need Scott Foster walking over and putting a headset. We've seen the replay 6 times, and then Scott Foster's like, we're going to review the play. Like, okay.
Well, you know why? Because those guys love that camera. Like, who's the guy that was doing the Golden State game? He's got a great voice. The official, he's got that
Yes.
great, and he's funny, but he loves the
He's
he loves the
jacked, too.
process.
I feel like these NBA refs are getting yoked now that they're on camera more often, right?
Minnesota
Upper
will
body.
challenge the play, and while they do, I'm going to sing a karaoke tune because I'm the star of the show.
You'll never find. All right, where are we at? Where are we at?
Number 6. Number 6 is, and this is where it gets good. 1994, the implementation of the 2-point conversion in the National Football League.
God, it's been 30 years.
College football had been around forever, but it used to be a one-score game was really a one-score game. Now it's got a little bit more fun. That was a rule that was long overdue, but that one I think is one of the most important because it makes the sport a hell of a lot more fun.
Do you think the NFL will ever adopt the XFL's current model and give you a 3-point option from the 10-yard line?
Oh, it's funny you say that because we're going to get to a league that did exactly that.
Okay.
Right.
Number 5, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but now it amazingly took a long time to become a universal rule, and it had a tremendous impact on the sport, in part because it kept guys employed. The designated hitter introduced to the American League in 1973. The first DH ever to hit a home run in a major league game, Tony Oliva, against the Oakland A's in 1973.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
All right. Number 4, the 3-on-3 overtime in the National Hockey League, which I think is, as much as I hate the shootout, which I refuse to put on this list because I hate it so much, I think the 3-on-3 is one of the great things they've done. It makes it's fun. It's pond hockey, basically. There are some things about it now that drive me crazy, like guys taking the puck and going backwards. But nonetheless, it was a good rule change.
Yeah, I think it's anything that creates more space and allows for more athleticism has potential to be fun, right?
Amen. Exactly right. All right, top 3. Coming out of the lost season in hockey to the lockout 2004-05, the elimination of the red line and a ton of rule changes that took that game from being, I consider the time from when the North Stars left to the Wild came, when I started to watch the sport again a lot in 2000, unrecognizably boring. It was boring. It was in trouble. The lockout, the best thing about losing an entire season was not the CBA. It was the decision to make the game more exciting. They made a bunch of changes. The sport now, I think, is fantastic. It's fast. Offense is back. They were in big trouble. Those changes, I think, had as big an impact on the game as I hope baseballs do now.
Yeah. Yes. I hope, I don't know, like it might be too far gone for baseball, but it kind of feels like baseball and hockey, like late the party on some of these changes may have just like lost a generation of fans. I don't know that, I guess it kind of feels like there are some fans that like kind of went away around the lockout with boring hockey and then the lockout never came back. We'll see if it brings fans back to baseball or if it just preserves the current fans. We'll see.
I think if you can get games down to 2+, I think you will get young fans who wouldn't watch previously. I think that's your greatest hope.
Mm-hmm.
Last 2 are basketball, no surprise. Number 2, 1954-55, NBA implements the shot clock. Before then, you could just keep the rock.
High school basketball, you can still do that. It's
I
so
think
stupid.
Minnesota high school basketball is going to a shot clock next season, right?
Okay. At least do it in the tournaments, for God's sakes.
Just do it all the time. If Johnny wants to pass the ball, Johnny's off the team.
Who like? I mean,
with you.
Wouldn't your strategy be if you took an 8-2 lead? Why would you ever shoot another shot?
Right.
Yeah, I think it was it Hopkins or someone? I think they were playing someone in the tournament like 5-6 years ago. They held the ball for like 2 straight minutes. Yeah. Like it was to like towards the end of regulation. They just held the ball. They just swung it all around. It's
college basketball, man. 4 corners. They literally pass the ball, and the most frustrating thing is, like the shot clock just solves it.
Yeah.
Like it's not this, oh my God, you made a rule change. It basically is, it's just like baseball. Clocks solve issues. And then the top thing will be, no surprise to Phil Mackey, it is the 3-point line introduced in the NBA in 1979-80. The 3-point line. And this is where, traditionalists are like, well, you can't change that. You can't change that. The NBA taking a page from what the ABA did, said that looks like a really cool idea to make games more fun, and they drew an arbitrary line. It's one of the great things. Like now,
you can't make a drastic change; it'll ruin the game.
I love in college now. Old school, real old school Gopher fans are like, what would Trent Tucker have done with the 3-point line? I'm like, too bad we didn't find out.
Yeah, I know. And again, like without the 3-point line, that's why sports are so hilarious back in the day. Without the 3-point line, why would you ever shoot a shot from like 20 feet? You know, I get there's a couple guys that could probably knock it down, right? Like John Havlicek could probably make that shot at a high enough rate.
Big O.
But just pack it in.
Yeah.
All right, I did some math, by the way. 1974 NFL kickers, they only made 4 50-yard field goals. The league only made 4 50-yard field goals or more in 1974.
Yeah.
They combined to miss 92 field goals under 40 yards.
Yeah.
Just shanking 34-yarders with their straight on.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, no,
It's hilarious.
It was awful. Go back and watch the condensed version of the Miracle at the Met, 1980 Browns Vikings. If I'm not mistaken, Rick Danmeyer missed 3 PATs.
Dude.
Like the old school PATs.
Oh, that's funny.
The chip shots. By the end, Kramer's like, you stupid SOB. Like Tommy Kramer, they showed him on the sideline berating Danmeyer because he's like, do your job. And of course, Rick was a straight on kicker. But yeah, the progress that kickers have made is one of the most incredible things when you realize how funny it looked when they were just missing left and right.
Can you name any of the kickers that made a 50-yarder in 1974?
Did Tom Dempsey of the Saints, because he made I think a 63-yarder with the boot.
With the foot, yeah.
He only attempted one beyond 50 yards.
Wait. In what year?
74.
Jan Stenerud?
That's one of them. Jan Stenerud got one. Yeah.
First soccer kicker, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
He was the most accurate, one of the most accurate kickers. Yeah.
Garo Upremian of the Dolphins?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Wow. I mean, he was a kicker in the league.
Oh yeah. He threw the Super Bowl pass that got picked up by, I think, Washington in return for a touchdown against the Dolphins.
The other ones were Bill McClard.
Wouldn't have got him.
And
Never heard of him.
Chester Markle.
Oh yeah,
the Packers.
Yeah, Chester Markle.
Chester Markle.
I wouldn't have guessed him, but yeah.
Some of these kickers are hilarious. The San Diego Chargers kicker was Ray Wershing. And poor Ray, only made 45% of his field goals. Bruce Gossett for the Niners. It is windy out there, in fairness. Was 11 for 24 on field goals that year. And he also, but he was perfect on his extra points.
So he probably made the team the next season. He probably didn't get cut for that.
Yeah. Amazing. So anyhow, all right, there's your history lesson. Judd's pecking order, the best rule changes in sports history, some Wolves optimism. You guys have a bonus scoop session with Doogie today on the Mackey and Judd feed, and 2 episodes of Purple Daily for your listening pleasure. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Write That Down.